All of us need help at some time. And what I love about coaching is that it can be a short-term tactic or strategy to help us to achieve more long-term goals, to help us to live in alignment with our values, to live out our passions, and to progress and move forward with our goals. And sometimes we don't do that because we have fear.
In our signature program, for example, the Own Your Story program in A-Classes Media, we usually start by telling the individual, now close your eyes and look at yourself. You are an old man or an old woman, 85, 90. What do you want to see? Now, when we do that, because we have a three-part storytelling strategy that we use, we call it NBA, now, before, and after. So that this is who you are, but where are you coming from? If you understand that, then where are you going?
So often we will do more for others than we do for ourselves, right? And so we have this nagging idea or this thing we really want to accomplish, and we're always putting it on the back burner so I can go out and help others. So I will get started. And I tell you what, I'm going to talk about coaching this morning and talk about coaching as it's a strategic move or tactic we can use to move us forward in all sorts of area. Because I am a career strategist, I'm going to focus a bit on career this morning. So let me look over here and see if I can share my slides. And yes, I see that. And so I'm going to begin sharing. Now, tell me if you see the presenter's window, because we don't want to see that. So this morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about coaching as a secret weapon, as a tactic, as a strategy for achieving real, true career fulfillment and satisfaction. I am Kimberly Adams Tufts. I'm the founder of a company called Cat Wellness Coaching. You say, well, if you're about career, what does wellness have to do about it? Well, I've learned over time that if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't focus on the things that are important to us, we're not well, whether that is mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, not well. So when I work with clients, even though some of them are saying, we just want to talk about career, I always integrate elements and strategies that promote and support their wellness. So that's why Cat Wellness Coaching. And so let's get into this because our time is short because we had some technology problems. And so talking about coaching versus mentoring. Often many people don't know what coaching is. They think it's mentoring. They also sometimes think it's therapy. So I thought it would be good to start by doing a compare and contrast. What is coaching versus mentoring? So a coach is someone who provides guidance to a client related to their goals and helps them to reach their potential, their full potential related to their goals. And that can be, for example, I thought about this morning. Sometimes we're doing. We're doing a lot, but how we are being is the more important part. A coach can help a client to distinguish the being of who they're being as a person from the doing of a career. A mentor is somewhat different. This is someone who's seen as an expert and they're sharing their knowledge, skills, or experience, kind of like a Socrates and Aristotle model to help someone else develop and grow. And that can take a long time. Coaching is sometimes more short-term. It's more performance-driven. It's designed to improve the person's or the professional's on-the-job performance, because we're talking about career today. But it can be performance driven and designed to improve any area of our life that we would like. Whereas mentoring is more development driven. It's looking at how we're going to grow very long term over our career. And as a faculty person in the university, I mentored 25 doctoral students and quite a few early career faculty. But I also realized once I got a coach in 2014, it would be good for me to integrate some coaching strategies to help these people really grow and develop and enhance their performance. So coaching is often focused on meeting very specific objectives. What do we want to do in the next 90 days? What do we want to do in the next 6 months? And I said it's short term, but I know some coaches who become lifetime advisors. Whereas mentorship is seeking to build the wisdom in the person and usually related to some specific things, such as I mentor students around how do you do research, good human subjects protecting integritous research. So here's a quote I like about coaching. Coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them. So it's very active. Well, what can we learn? How can you learn? What will help you to learn? Rather than, I'm the great sage on the stage, they used to call it, and I'm just going to impart all my wisdom to you. You're going to become a mini me. No, that's not coaching. So the foundation to coaching is clarity. Often people are not really clear on what they desire, what they truly want. And so when I do a discovery call, which is usually the first time I meet a client or a potential client, and I help them in that call to disentangle, to determine, to decide what they really want. I also help them to know it when they get it. What is it going to look like when you get what you want? And if I'm the person observing you and you've gotten what you wanted to achieve, what will I hear or see from you? So clarity. And lots of times, like as I said, people don't know what they really want. Sometimes they have a vague idea, or they think, I really want this, but they're not sure what's stopping them or slowing them down from getting it. And that's where we need clarity. And so sometimes it's important to do a type of assessment. And so here's an example of an assessment. This is called the career wheel of life. Let me give you a little background on this. So the career wheel of life is based on a scientific assessment that's called the wheel of life. And on the wheel of life, you have 12 spokes. And you see the career wheel has 8. The wheel of life has 12 spokes. And it looks at concepts or principles such as what are your relationships, your finances, creativity, your education, social life, spirituality is on the career wheel of life. Something interesting to me, which I think one of the 12 is home cooking. That's important to having a fulfilling, satisfying life. One of those 12 spokes on the wheel of life is career. And so the career wheel of life takes that one spoke, career, and blows it up and includes concepts that we know a person needs to have some level of satisfaction, contentment with, or happiness with in order to have a satisfying career. It's a quick assessment, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes to have the client do the assessment. And what it does, it takes a bird's eye view of the areas that make up a satisfying career. And so there are a couple ways to use the wheel. I'm going to tell you that sometimes I'm short on time, the client's short on time, and we do an assessment in this way. I say to them, look at these 8 aspects of a satisfying career and tell me the top 3 you feel the most satisfied with or you're most happy about. Then tell me which are 3 areas that you're not so satisfied with, or you're pretty unhappy, or you never even thought about it. Tell me those 3 areas. That's a quicker way to do it. Another way to do it is have the client look at this wheel and do the traditional way, which is you place a dot in each spoke of the wheel. Now, why dot? Well, and let me tell you about the dots. So you place a dot toward the outside or the perimeter of the wheel. Let's say if you feel great about your dedication and commitment, you'd place a dot toward the outside of this wheel. And let's say you feel great about your ambition. You'd place a dot toward the outside or the perimeter of the circle. Let's say there's some areas that you're not satisfied with, or even you never even thought about them. So if you've never even thought about them or not satisfied, you put a dot toward the black circle in the center. Let's say there are areas that I don't feel any one way or the other about it. I'm okay with my leadership and influence. Then you would put a dot in the center. So dots go toward the outside, they go toward the center, and they go toward the middle, I should have said, of the spoke if you don't really care about it or you feel like, oh, I'm okay with that. Once they do that, I ask them a few questions. Coaching is a lot of questions. Were you surprised? Oh, one thing I'm missing. After you put the dots in, you then try to recreate the circle by connecting the dots. And then once they've done that, I'll go back. I ask them, there's anything about this that surprised you? Are there areas of your own circle that are flatter? Are you able to recreate a circle? And they will give me that answer. Then I say to them, well, tell me, which were your top 3 areas that you felt the best about? Often it's dedication and commitment. Often it's ambition. Communication seems to always rise to the top. Not all the time, but many times. Then I'll say, well, share with me 3 areas where you'd like to see a change. You'd like more positive shift in those. And they'll give me 3 areas. Interesting to me, it's often fulfillment. It's often engagement that they want a positive shift in. Many times energy, whether that's physical or mental energy, and it's often authenticity. So I'll say to them, okay, you got 3 areas that you're not feeling the best about. Which one would you like to see or address first? Which one seems like a priority to address first? And they may tell me it's fulfillment, for example. Then I want to help the client to envision what it would be like if they felt fulfilled in their job. So I asked them a question. I asked them, will you be willing to play with me for a second? Most clients say yes. Once we do that, I want to bring the client into a state where they feel like they're more receptive to this, to visioning their future. And so I will usually do several rounds of slow, conscious, deep breathing with them. I'll coach them through doing slow, conscious, deep breathing. That may take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. And then I will say to them, sit in the position that's most comfortable for you. Is it with your legs raised? Is it with your legs crossed? Is it sitting back like this? Whatever is most comfortable for you, sit like that. And then I say to them, you can keep your eyes open or closed, but we're going to envision your future. I want to hear about your future. And so once we do that, I help them to imagine this positive future. So I may say, imagine a day 6 months from now, and you wake up one morning and you're getting ready to go to work. So let's say, we just stretch in the bed or we roll over and we maybe start to think about our day and getting ready for it. If you have achieved all you wanted to do with fulfillment 6 months from now, what would that feel like for you? And they may tell me things like, oh, I feel more content. Oh, I have a sense of inner peace. Oh, I'm happier. Oh, I don't feel as stressed. Then I ask them, wow, so you've achieved what you wanted to do. So what would you say to yourself in that moment? And they share that with me. And so then I ask questions like, tell me, how would that make a difference in your life? If you have a sense of more inner peace, if you're less stressed, if you feel happier, or some people say, well, I'd be ready to jump into the day. You're ready to get on with that work. How would that make a difference in your life? Once they share that with me and they give me certain words, I say, well, you feel more inner peace? Tell me what that would do for you. So I want to ground that in, the difference in their life. But also I'd ask them for your family or significant others, in your work, regarding your social life. And maybe we talk about how would that make a difference in your finances? And you don't ask all of these together as a good coach. These are separate questions. And then I want to ground in for them. I want them to feel what would be the best part of achieving that. And so this is really important, this visioning, because I'll say to you that if you work with coaching clients, often we can show up to a coaching session and we don't feel our best, or we've had a really rough week at work, or, something happened personally in our home situation. And we just want to give up, or we can't see that future anymore. As a coach, my job is to I tell my clients, your future vision of yourself in trust for you. So the days that you show up and you're not really there, I'm going to hold it in trust and remind you and share that vision with you and help you to keep on track with going for that vision. I want to stop that for a minute. And so one of the keys to coaching is helping the client to engage in empowered actions. It's like the cornerstone. So if I'm just meeting with a client and maybe it's a discovery call, and I may say to them, because they haven't become a client, what if our interaction ended today and we never spoke again and we never saw each other? What is one thing you would commit to doing in the next 7 days to move yourself toward that wonderful vision you shared with me? I remember having a client, and she said, well, she had been a professor, and then she's a journalist, and now she's a radio host. And she said, I want to write that book. Oh, okay. I'm going to write my book. I'm going to finish my book. Good coaching. You're going to finish your book in the next 7 days? Well, tell me, how long have you been working on that book? What more do you have to do? So I see that you want to finish this book. Let's think about how we can break that down. What is something that you could commit to doing towards finishing your book in the next 7 days? Just one thing. She said, I have to meet with my co-author because she has to be on board too. Oh, okay. So what do you need to do to meet with your co-author? And then she broke the steps down for me. So coaching is about one step, one day at a time, and breaking it down into incremental progressive steps. James Clear has a book called Atomic Habits. And he makes the point in this book, which is, as a multi bestseller, that if we just change or do one thing consistently, 1% each day, that over a year, we would be 37% better or have achieved at a level of 37%. How many of us would not want that? So it's helping the client to break it down. Often we will say, I've got to write this book, or I've got to finish this book, and I'm going to finish this book. I'm just going to set myself down, get started, and get it done in the next 3 weeks. And something small happens to derail us. I'll use a sit-up example. Let's say we want to get our abs in shape. And so we're going to say, okay, I'm going to do sit-ups every day. And so we rush and we start out by doing 20 sit-ups because we're in fairly good shape. We do 20 or 30 sit-ups a day. And we're just going. And we get like 10 days out. Something happens and we don't do it that day. Would it be better to do 30 sit-ups a day or to do 5 sit-ups every day for the next 365 days? That's the essence of, I tell clients, small hinges swing big doors. So this is an example of me coaching myself. I went to a very challenging meeting in Washington, D.C. here in the United States about a month ago now. And I arrived, I'm in Union Station, which is a very, very big and busy train station. And I knew I was going to very soon, it's only about, the hotel's only about 10 minutes from the train station. I knew the kind of people I was going to be engaging with. I know sometimes because of my introverted nature, it may be a challenge for me. Also, I'm not one to always put myself forth. And this is a group of people who always want to put themselves forth and show you what they do. So here I am in the restroom of the bathroom, and I'm coaching myself. I'm singing because that brings me joy, and I'm getting myself ready for the situation. Just one empowered action. And the other thing this did for me, and make a commitment to myself to post on LinkedIn very frequently. This little video became the cornerstone of a brief post that I shared. Like, why is she singing in a bathroom in Union Station? And yeah, who's calling now? Who's calling now? Da 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 da. Yeah. Who's calling now? Who's calling now? Yeah. When you call, I must answer. When you call, we must answer. When you call, we must answer. Who's calling now? Who's calling now? Yeah. So one small action, something outside of my comfort zone to get me ready for going into something that's outside of my comfort zone. And I can take that action and leverage it by doing something else that I should be doing, which is posting regularly on LinkedIn. Coaching, helping the person to find out what they really want, helping them to think about that with clarity. Many times early in a coaching relationship, I help the client to do an assessment of their values. And then once we know what their values are, we look at their current situation and see if it's aligned. And then we think about the values inform their passions, and the passions inform their goals. And then we break the goals down. Because one other really big thing in coaching is helping the client to come up with empowered actions that will move them forward, but also holding them accountable for that. So I'm going to go back to questions. I'd like to say that if you want to contact me or request services, I'm very active on LinkedIn. And in my LinkedIn profile, you can book a free coaching discovery call, something like this that usually takes me anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes with a client, depending on where they go and where we go. So you can book a free discovery call with me on LinkedIn. You can also book these concrete sessions that are not part of my 90-day signature coaching program or long-term coaching. You can just book an hour with me and we can do a game plan session. Often people do that with me for interview preparation, for resume reviews. I have a recommendation. I also have recommendations on my LinkedIn profile. I have a recommendation there from a Dr. Deborah Law. And what she did is I did a discovery call with her, and then she booked 2 game plan sessions. And she was very anxious about getting this tenure track job in the university. And I remember the first call, the game plan session, I said to her, well, what do you think they're going to ask in this interview? She basically said, I don't have any idea. Well, I helped her to learn that they're going to ask some of very similar things. The words might be different, but there are concepts that we hiring managers and interviewers go through in order to determine if a candidate is a good fit for a particular position. And so we did the interview prep over 2 sessions, and she got the job. You can also email me at catwellness2@gmail.com. You can check out my website here.
All right. So I want to thank you again for the sharing here, and of course the rich value that you share with us. So I don't know if you want to go back to the wheel of life. I think that is really very important. So I say it is important because our research here sometime, and I see that it was published that since human beings show up in this world There have been about 170 billion people that have ever existed. That includes, of course, the 8 billion people on Earth today. So
Yes.
what that really means, in line with storytelling, what we are talking about here, are being able to find your life purpose, because that becomes very important for us now as to why you need to tell your story, is that we need to know that we are really unique as people, as human beings, and that we don't really just need to walk through life like just responding to the calls of other people. We need to be intentional, really have a plan for our life, because life is not simple. No, a lot of things are going to happen. Sometimes they are beyond your control. But if you know where you are
Yes.
going, everything that is happening to you, that you look for a way to make sense out of that. So, in line with this wheel of life, I want you to
Uh-huh.
speak a bit about this working intentionally, like looking, that is, you have a goal, that is what you are working towards. Tell me a little bit about that, using the wheel of life.
Well, the will of life, like I said, there's aspects on it, um, such as creativity, your education, spirituality, joy is on the will of life. Home environment, health is one of the 12 spokes. And I love what you said. You talked about being intentional. And that's really important. And I think that's where coaching can help us. You see, I chose this background. I usually use my home background, and I might switch to it in a minute, but I don't know if I can do that right now. But because I wanted to show that, see, there's my home background. That's my office, right? That's where I'm working from. But I chose the other background this morning because if you see that there was water and it very open space, right? And water. That is symbolizes our lives, that often when we don't realize it, but there's so much open to us if we're intentional. Also, you see the water in the background. That's to symbolize some abilities are endless. Often when we are in deep into living life, we're really not really living it. We're just doing it. We're not being. And so when we think about that wheel of life, if my career is really fabulous, which is this is personal. My career was fabulous, but often I was neglecting, especially because my children have grown up now. Once the children left the home and my husband and I were by ourselves, I didn't take as much care about the home. I didn't feel like I had to come home and make sure there was great food or go to plays with the children or go to athletic things. Well, my children as a whole were not athletic, but they did music. They sang or they played different instruments and stuff. Well, now I didn't have all those things to do. They were in college. Well, the will of life tells us you got to take care of your home environment in order to have a satisfying life, right? You got to take care of your relationships. So my husband was still in the home, right? So it's really important for me to make sure that I'm honoring and being intentional about my relationship with my husband. Now, I had elderly parents who didn't live with us, but caring for them is also important. Continue to support and maintain that relationship. And because one of those 12 spokes on the wheel of life is joy. So I noticed great career, lots of publications which are required in academia, research dollars, grant dollars for programs. But did I have real joy? No.
I have a curiosity, which is we are talking about coaching on, and not really
Uh-huh.
mentoring, like you, of course, you did give a distinction between the two of them. So where
Mhm.
I'm really going with this is, see, I told you, if there were time, we would have been able to do a lot about what you did as a presentation, because there's a lot of value there. Only that because of time, so we are going to just take a short snippet of it. Because I'm looking at the African
Okay.
diaspora now, looking at the people of African descent that are finding different parts of the world.
Mhm.
They need
Mhm.
someone to show them the way. So on that, I want you to speak to me about the importance of coaching within this demographic. how much it could do for us. Yeah.
So, of course, I'm part of the African diaspora, right? Diaspora, I am. I have roots in Nigeria
Welcome,
and
sister.
Ghana.
That's my sister.
I I did my genes, and I found out I have roots in Nigeria. That my African blood is primarily Nigerian, Ghanaian, and I think a little bit of Congo.
You're welcome.
Now,
we love you.
thank you. And so I worked and lived in Zimbabwe. They used to always talk about she gets more African every day. I was a little sad to learn like I didn't have any Southern African roots. And then I also learned, I knew that the European part was Scottish, but I did not know that I also had a lot of in India, Asian India, and also other Europe was a little bit of Spain and Portugal, right? So I'm a mixture, but I most readily identify with the African roots, right? Right. And so here I was in a primarily dominantly European university, and I was struggling. I was producing, and then they gave me another big charge or initiative to be over. And the folks in the college that I worked in didn't like that initiative. So I was feeling alienated. I was feeling a lot of pressure. And I had a boss or a dean who actually was very good. She saw me as a person, which was my first time. I'd only been working with her a few months. And she said, Kat, that's my nickname. She said, Kat, you need a coach. And it's interesting that the coach that she gifted me, I didn't have to pay for it. The coach was also a woman of African descent. And the coach gave me the first, and I resented the coach, let's be honest. Because she started asking me to do things like a lot of these instruments and assessment, like scientifically based, like the Wheel of Life. And her rule was you had to get those to her 2 days before your next session. And at that time in 2014, we're doing a lot of things face to face, right? So 2 days before she came to be in session with you, she had to have your homework done. And I was like, who is this woman? Why is she giving me homework? I don't need anything else to do. However, on the third visit, I think it was, the third session, she came into my office and she said, you're such an introvert, but you don't give yourself any time for thinking. And then she used like a colloquialism, like an Africanism. She said, how's that working for you, girl? Or, she could have said, like, if more African, she could have said, how's that working for you, Ma? Right? And I was like, then I was thinking, how does she know? How does she know I'm an introvert? I have really trained myself to appear to be extroverted. She knew because she had me do all those assessments. That's what they were about. And so I will say to you that coaching changed my life. I wish I could get up because I have the pledge. She asked me to make a pledge to myself, and then she typed it up and made it pretty and put it in a frame and brought it back to me.
Lovely. That's really, really lovely.
And it wasn't just about my job. It was about my life. One of the things on that pledge is that I was going to be regularly participating in the Christian ministry. Okay. So the coaching helped me to align my day-to-day work with the wholeness of my life so that I can have more things like that are on the wheel, like joy, like I could be creative. And I said to you that I felt my most joy in my work, not when I was writing articles, not when I was administering the college, not when I love to teach. So that's good, especially when I see the students develop and progress. But it was also doing that one-on-one coaching and mentorship. And once I learned coaching strategies from her, I knew it was a really good addition. And that's what really drove me about 7 years later, I think, to go to school myself to become a coach.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. You see that ended part is very important when you become transformed now. In our signature program, for example, the Own Your Story program in A-Classes Media, we usually start by telling the individual, now close your eyes and look at yourself. You are an old man now, an old woman, 85, 90. What do you want to see? Now, when we do that, because we have a 3-part storytelling strategy that we use, we call it NBA, now, before, and after. So that this is who you are, but where are you coming from? If you understand that, then where are you going? So we usually start with that ending, then we go back again to rework it out. It's 90 days program. Of course, we usually tell people, if you want to participate in it, you need to take a test to be sure that you really want to do that, because there are some things to do. We don't want to give it to everybody. It costs money. Yes, we need the money. Yes, but we want people who are really fit for this, so that you can do the work and get results.
I love it. And so you're coaching, and you and I both know there's some foundational elements to coaching. And remember, I said that one of the things I do for my clients, they've shared that vision of their future self with me, how they are being, not so much what they are doing, but how they are being. And then I hold that vision in trust for them. I'm there as a coach to remind them of it, to talk about strategies, to hold them accountable. You know, another client, a lot of people, because these are academics I work with, she's an English person and she wanted to finish a book. So she's, one of the things was for her empowered action for the next step after she started working on that goal was, what's a time during your week that you can set aside time to work on this? I told her about my uncle, who's a very productive writer, who says that you only need 10 minutes a day. Often it'll be more than the 10 minutes once you get started. It sometimes will be less, and you're not wasting time because you're not reorienting yourself to the project all the time, because it's been 8 days, 2 weeks in between the time you worked on it. So she told me, guess what, Kimberly, I already have that on my calendar. It's 90 minutes at this time on Tuesday. I said, you do? And you have not been using it. So let's talk about how we can help you, enable you to use that and keep that commitment to yourself.
I love that. The commitment is the most important part of it, no? Because anybody can want to do it. Anybody can, maybe because you have spoken to the person, let them understand the importance of what they are going to do. They might like it, but the point is, are you committed to doing it every day? You see, you make reference of Claire's book, no? The Atomic Habit. Because the change will not happen just suddenly. The change will not happen just now. No, it will happen by a continuous effort towards the journey. I remember, for example, a couple of years ago, not really much, many years ago, that was like 2 years ago, I make a commitment to write 500 articles in 12 months, 1 year. But 500 articles is a lot of work. Of course, I didn't have to do everything myself. I need to pay people to write it. But the question is that I make a commitment that by the end of this year, I would have published 500 articles. Of course, we have gone way beyond that, and we are moving toward 2,000 now in A-Classes Media. So the point is that if I don't have that as a meter in front of me, I wouldn't know how to measure myself. I would never have been able to do that because, it doesn't happen immediately. It happens just regularly, because I usually make this example when we are talking about the satisfaction that we get from it. That you don't get satisfied just because you have got it to the end. You satisfy every day because you are moving towards it. Anyway, like I said, there is a lot we could have discussed here, but it's just the time.
Yes, there is. And I'm looking over at I can't remember. But last night I was in a mastermind and someone talked about being overwhelmed. by a goal, like you had 500 articles in a year. And he said, well, let me show you something. Let me take you to my back office. And what he did is he showed her, I think, is it called Trello?
Yeah, okay. They use Trello.
For
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Trello. He showed how he uses Trello for project management, right? Well, what's that doing? That's taking something big, a big goal, and breaking it down into incremental, progressive, concrete steps. And that's what we do, as you said, when we are coaching others, and we hold them accountable to it, right? Often people from the diaspora, African people, you know how we're so interested and committed to the collective, right? So often we will do more for others than we do for ourselves, right? And so we have this nagging idea or this thing we really want to accomplish, and we're always putting it on the back burner so I can go out and help others, right? Well, we have to learn that when we help ourselves, when we take care of ourselves, we meet our commitment to ourselves, that makes us a better person to help others, right? So culturally, we're about the collective, and I also have spent time in Spanish with Spanish-speaking folks for many years. I'm in the Spanish. I'm no longer in it. I'm in English now, but in the Spanish congregation. And I noticed when we read our spiritual magazines and such in Spanish, we always talk about nosotros, we, nosotros. Like let's go. A lot of people know Spanish for let's go. Vamos. It doesn't say voy, I'm going. We say vamos.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, vamos. Pero, and I almost broke into Spanish. But in English, the articles often say, well, you must do this or you should go this, because especially in the United States, we're a very individualistic society. So sometimes it's hard for we who have African roots to operate in that, because we're always thinking about the collective. But then I decided I have to get a little more like the United States culture. I have to start to think a little more about me and me, myself, and I. And what I've learned of that is that made me a better person for the we. Para nosotros, por nosotros. See, es la verdad. Yes, that's the truth.
So what is your final thought to close this conversation? Because you really have been very, you know what? I would beg you to come again next time so we can have more time to explore, because these are important arguments that we need to have. So how do you conclude it anyway?
Oh, wow. You don't say, I don't know. I think it's that all of us need help at some time. And what I love about coaching is that it can be a short-term tactic or strategy to help us to achieve more long-term goals, to help us to live in alignment with our values, to live out our passions, and to progress and move forward with our goals. And sometimes we don't do that because we have fear, and a good coach can help us, support us. I didn't talk about that. Support is a part of coaching too. Accountability, visioning our future selves, progressively moving forward toward that empowered action, but also that you have somebody who can cheer you on. Coaching. So, but remember, the thing about coaching is just cheering on is very important, but also the person who can push you outside of your boundaries or your comfort zone.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And I want to thank you so much for the time, the sharing here, and the value. It's really very, very rich. And of course, I ask the audience, those that are listening to us, to check out Kimberly's work. Check out her work. Check out her coaching. Car wellness coaching or car coaching. How do you pronounce it better?
Cat, like cat, but with a K. See, cat wellness
car
coaching.
Wellness coaching.
Yes.
Check it out. It's available on LinkedIn. It's available also on YouTube. Of course, this video is going to be out there. When you reach out to her if you need help, because she's available. She has an experience that can be advantageous to you. So check it out. That's what we are asking for. So thank you so much, sister. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
As we would say in Spanish, pase buen dia. Have a great day. And I know for you, it's in the evening. It's getting toward evening because you're in Europe and I'm here in the United States. But we will both move through the rest of our day with intention, with a
I
joy.
love that. Thank you so much, sister. Have a wonderful time.